Hi friends, it's been a while since I've done an update and there's a few things I wanted to share. I have been kind of pondering on that leg where the parasite comes out, burrows out of the leg and leaves bacteria, and then there's a rash. And then on the other places on the body as well. And I was looking for a specific picture I took of somebody sitting in front of me at church a couple months back, and this happened again last Sunday. I was visiting a different church for the Sunday. And the rashes, now this is a picture of one of my girls when we were on vacation. And I've shared how many times they're on the front of the lower leg. And the shin area. And I think, sorry, I'm trying to keep the glare off of it. But it's right, I think you can see it right there on her leg and also up there on her leg. And, without more reflection, you can see, sorry, it's pretty bright outside. Anyway, hopefully you can see that. And there's a lady in my congregation at church that has had all sorts of health problems and many surgeries. A lot of similar health problems that I've had, except she's a lot younger. She's one of my daughter's ages, and she's got 3 kids, and it's sad the situation that she's had with all these surgeries and everything. But she was sitting in front of me at church on this one Sunday, and her hair was up in a bun. And I've shared with you that they like hairlines. And that's where they'll come out and lay their eggs. Now, I had a neighbor who was having the rashes, and he would put alcohol on and paper towels on them, and then they would move and they wouldn't die. But I told him, to try the peroxide, as the peroxide seems to kill them once they come to the surface. And so, but then I learned that the iodine does a better job at just keeping them away from those areas. But the problem is then they go to other areas and they start infesting those other areas, and then you have to keep chasing them with this iodine. And the diatomaceous earth helps somewhat if they come to the surface, but a lot of times they're just under the surface, and so it doesn't help a ton with that. So the combination I was using is the Lugol's iodine and then diatomaceous earth on top of that. So that way if they're on the surface, and then the iodine goes under the surface. So anyway, she had sores all in her hairline, and I wish I could show you mine, but mine are mostly, because I bleach my hair, I use peroxide on my hair, it kills them off on a regular basis. Every 3 weeks or so I bleach my hair, and that kills them off a little bit, and it keeps them down for the most part. But I have sores just in the hairline, on the back of my neck. They come out, and I can feel them at night sometimes there, and I mean, I don't know, you just kind of half wake up because you've got this drugged stupor where they're making you have this sleep induced whatever it is, and so you're just super tired and you can feel them, but you're kind of sedated. Whatever they do, they kind of sedate you. So it's really hard to get them at any point. You just kind of awake, but you're not awake. And I've been doing more of the falling asleep when I sit, which is about 20 minutes after I sit. I get tired, and more of the heart burrowing into the left lung, and my lung damage is really bad. I wheeze really bad, and especially when I laugh, you can hear it's emphysemic, and there's just I'm not getting any air exchange. And so it's been really hard, and I've shared, I think, in the past where you can't recline. So if I try and sit on a recliner chair, I can't breathe at all. And when I had my gallbladder surgery, they had me reclined, and I kept crying to them in my half-drugged stupor, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And the lady's like, well, your sats were fine, because I was laying down, but when she sat me up, they took the sat monitor off, and I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, because I wasn't sitting up straight, because I was somewhat sedated, so I was reclining. And when they wheeled me into the room, my daughter's like, you look blue, and I'm like, I am not breathing, I'm panicking. And so I'm kind of combining 2 stories here. So the one is, a lot of people with similar health problems have the rashes on the back of the neck. Now, I went to I have a niece that's leaving to be a missionary, and I went to her church last Sunday, and the row in front of me was all guys, and young guys. My 20s, mid-20s ish. And I tried to take a picture, but it's really awkward when you're sitting behind somebody at a church meeting and you're trying to take a picture of their neck because you're a lower angle. And I don't want to bring my camera up in a church meeting. I thought that was kind of disrespectful. And but one of them had all of those sores in his hairline and rashes on his neck, and then the one in the middle didn't seem to have anything, and the one to the other side had sores, like real sores in the hairline. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is just so bad. I wish there was just a blood test, a protein test that we could just do, and I could say, hey, I think you might have this issue here. Go get this test, or just go to my blog or whatever. But because there's no test, I don't feel like I can say anything to anybody. So I didn't say anything to these poor guys. I was like, oh, I bet they're probably having some problems because they've got some of the symptoms. But anyway, that might be awkward for a lady to say anything anyway, but I'm never probably going to see him again. And if it could help him, that would be great. But because there's no way to identify it, what good is it going to say anything to them? Anyway, back to the reclining issue. Okay, so I just was saying that I've noticed a lot of people are having the neck rashes, and who knows what other symptoms there are, but it seems like everybody I talk to has some of the symptoms: the dots in the back of the throat, the dry cough, the phlegm, clearing your throat, the digestive issues. I've noticed that when I do the pterodactyl sound, I've shared before. So I noticed my mother would always kind of do a weird hiccup after eating or whatever. And I noticed my father does the same thing, and my sister's done it for years. And I hadn't done it until a few years back when I started having these problems. And so I would do this kind of a sound. And, sorry, the sun, I always seem to do this after church, and the sun kind of comes out and it gets kind of bright. So let me see if I can move it forward and not have it be so bright. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but I kind of get washed out. So anyway, I do this pterodactyl sound, and it used to be just kind of a hiccup, and my father and my mother did a hiccup, and my sister did a hiccup. But I think because I have the parasites so bad, I've noticed, I was trying to pinpoint what it was I was eating or what I was doing. Okay, it seems to be when I have a large amount of water, when I drink just a plain amount of water, when I haven't had any. So I'm super dry right now. I'm dehydrated. My heels are cracked. Haven't been drinking a lot of water. I've had a lot going on. And when I drink water, so it just happened again, and I was like, oh, I've got to, I think this is when it is. So I just realized that this is probably when it is. So it's when I drink and I haven't eaten. So if I eat a big meal and I drink water, then it will sometimes happen. But I haven't eaten for hours, and then I took a glass of water, and then it happened. So I think the parasites like to come to where the water is. And so I think what's happening is they're burrowing in and to get to the water. Or when I'm eating when I've had a big meal and it's something maybe they don't like, they're burrowing out. So I think what that pterodactyl sound that I make is they're burrowing in and out. And I've thought that before, and I probably shared that before, but I've just noticed it more frequently. Exactly when it is. It always is around drinking and eating anyway. It's never just when I haven't had anything. It doesn't happen like when I'm gone to church. I don't have that hiccupy sound. But if I'm eating something somewhere and then it's something maybe spicy, or if I'm drinking a lot of water, like at a restaurant, that tends to be when I'll do that. It's like, that's exactly what it sounds like. It's like a vacuum is created, and then I'm taking in this air. Like a hiccup is kind of but I'm taking in so much air all at once that it makes this pterodactyl sound. And so I think it's just a vacuum created, them burrowing in to get to the moisture, or burrowing out to get away from the herbs or whatever I'm taking. So I just wanted to share that. Okay, so I've had a lot of people, most of them haven't been suggesting something to try recently. Most of them are suggesting that I look up some kind of a doctor. So I've had 3 or 4 people recommend different doctors. Have you looked up this protocol or this protocol or this parasitologist or whatever? And I haven't had a lot of time, and I probably won't through the holiday season with family coming and going, and I'm in charge of family party and things like that. So, but I want you to know I'm grateful for all of that. And I do eventually look it up. I've got this big list and I just keep adding to it. And I put at the bottom, like, in order, who suggests what, and different herbs that they've suggested, or different drugs they've suggested, or different things they've suggested. Now, I'm not suggesting and telling anybody what to do here, and I'm not suggesting that anybody try anything that I've tried. I'm a guinea pig. I'm the only one with the actual diagnosis for this in the US, North America, South America that I can find. So because I have the diagnosis and they've narrowed it to what it is, I feel like, and I've tried all of the anti-Hamilton parasitic medications, and they're expensive and they just made my eyes yellow. We've talked about that lots of times. I'm trying anything because nothing I have tried has worked. So I'm trying stuff that might be questionable, and I'm not suggesting anybody try it. The only reason I'm sharing with you what I've tried is because I don't want somebody else to have to try it for the expense or the damage it could do to your body. So don't try these things. I'm just sharing them with you to let science know, hey, somebody has tried that for this parasite diagnosis and it has worked or has not worked. Okay. With that, I was doing some research. I was buying some Lugol's iodine, and I found an herb that I had not heard of before. It's pronounced Oje, but that's how it's spelled. So O-J-E with an accent. It's from South America. Peru, Guatemala. I'm trying to remember all the different places I read that use it. And what this tree is it's a tree that starts as a vine, and then it takes over large trees and becomes stronger because it's a parasite vine. It makes itself stronger by taking the root system of another tree. So I thought that was interesting because it's a parasite tree. It's supposed to be useful on parasites. One dose, and there's not a lot of documentation on it. And like I said, it's experimental in the sense that it's not like a common thing you can find. It's not available in a lot of places, but they do use it all throughout South America. So, and there is some documentation on a certain amount of patients that have tried it in clinics and things, but there are some side effects. And so I, like I said, I hesitate even putting this out there because I don't want people to go jump and buy this and have problems. I'm not suggesting that anybody do that. I'm just letting you know what I've tried, because I've tried every kind of herb I've thought to try, and every kind of anything that's come into my mind or I've thought, and some of them actually seem to help with my liver and my yellow eyes, and so that's good. But as far as the parasites, I haven't found one that, yeah, that's working. Let's keep taking that. So I'm just sharing that with you. That's why I'm sharing this information. So it's kind of a milky, and it tastes fermented. I've tasted something similar. It's kind of like a Rejuvelac, which is like, so barley, fermented barley is like beer. Fermented grains makes alcohol. If you take grains and you ferment them before they have alcohol, it's kind of like a sweet wine. You can ferment grapes before they get the alcohol content in them. It's called sweet wine or new wine. That's what this tastes like. It tastes like a Rejuvelac that is just fermented, so there's no alcohol in it before it gets to the alcohol stage, because it doesn't taste alcohol-y, it just tastes fermented. But Oje is kind of one of a rubber tree plant variant, so it has like latex in it. So if you have don't try this at all, but especially if you have a latex problem, don't try this. So I was very nervous to try it because there's not a lot of documentation on it. And so I want to make sure I wasn't going to have a reaction, a big reaction or something. So I took like one dose of this is a tablespoon. Like half of this bottle is a dose, and this bottle's two tablespoons. It's 30 mLs, 15 mLs is a tablespoon. So it's 2 tablespoons. So I took 5 drops in water, swished it around in my mouth to make sure if I was going to have any kind of reaction. I knew I'd have like swelling or irritation in my mouth. I don't do anything with alcohol in it. I have a really hard problem with any kind of herbal remedies that are based in alcohol base. And so I just want to make sure that I didn't have any reaction. So every 20 minutes I took a couple of drops just to make sure that I wasn't going to have any kind of reaction, and it seemed to be fine. So I took a dose. It says take for 3 or 4 days to kill off parasites, but it also says it works well on mouth sores, and it helps with jaundiced liver. So I thought, oh, well, can't. If it's supposed to help with parasites and it's supposed to help with liver, then that's great because I have both. But when I read the research, it didn't say it was like a huge antiparasitic, but it helped with antiparasites. So I did take a full dose. Now I'm back into the don't know where to sit mode where the sun's moving. So I took a full dose, and didn't notice anything with the parasites. Took a second dose, didn't notice anything with the parasites. Because it said take for 4 days, I wanted to give it a try. I did know the second, third day, the parasites were more active, but they weren't burrowing into my muscles like they do when I take Parental or anything. And I didn't feel them coming more to the surface or anything. So I decided the end of the third day, I was having like really bad lightheadedness. And one of the side effects is some issues in brain swelling. So I got nervous. I was like, okay, is that from this, or is this from the parasites burrowing, or is it causing the parasites to burrow into the brain? And that's what causes the swelling or bleeding. And so I got a little nervous, and I was kind of hesitant to take the last dose, but I went ahead and took it because I've been having pressure storm headaches and my teeth have been hurting. So I was thinking the lightheadedness, and I've shared with you before, like, I'm a human barometer. This is awful. I don't even know where to go to not be in it. I'm like white all over my face. Move over here for a minute. So, I figured it was the pressure in the air because I've been having teeth pain, and that happens when I get a barometer headache, with a high pressure storms or high pressures move through. So I went ahead and took the 4th dose. I didn't notice anything. I still have the parasites. I still feel them moving. I did think they were a little bit more active, but it could have been the pressure in the air that was causing them to be more active. So I wouldn't recommend. It was cheap. I mean, it's not expensive, but I didn't see it doing anything fabulous for me to the point where I'd go, oh, I got to take that again. I do think it helped my eyes, though. I don't know if it's just so bright. Anyway, right, this side is yellow still, and then this one was getting yellow, more so than it had been in the past. I have started taking bile salts, bile acid when I eat anything fatty, and that could be also what's helping, but I do feel like this did help my liver and eyes a little bit. So, but it's not worth getting it and taking it if it's not like I don't feel like I got that great of a response that I'm going to take it again. It's just, to me, it wasn't worth it, because I didn't feel any better. I didn't notice anything different. Anyway, so there's that. I also wanted to say, I was taking chia a lot, probably a half a tablespoon or more a day for a month, maybe. Didn't notice anything fabulous there either. I just felt like it wasn't anything exciting that I'm like, okay, not feeling exciting about it. I was soaking it overnight, and then I would put it in my protein shakes in the morning. So this is terrible. I forgot this is the time of day and the season that this happens. So I'll be over here for a minute. Okay, so there's those two things. I'm still taking Lugol's iodine every day, and I put a drop in my first drink in the morning. I take it in the morning because when I was rubbing it on at night or taking it at night, it was keeping me awake and I wasn't sleeping very well. I don't feel that I've had a ton of energy. But I've been taking minerals every day as well. I always take the liquid minerals I've shared with you. I use the Marine Minerals brand currently, but I've used several different kinds of minerals, liquid minerals. I just take one that has a combination of it in it. On different videos I've shared that I take them differently, but I just find it's just too hard to get a good mix. So you're taking want too much of one and it takes away from the other vitamins or anything. So I just take a mix that like Marine Minerals that has it all in it and add it to my drinks. Whenever I drink water, just plain water, I add that. And so I have been taking those two things, but I've been super tired lately, and I've been doing this sit down, fall asleep thing, which I haven't done in a while. So I was a little concerned about that. And I was trying to think about what the things I was taking along with the iodine a few months back when I had so much energy and I was feeling better and I was sleeping less. And I came up with two things that I was taking then that I had stopped taking for a while. And so I went to the health food store and bought those two things again. Now, one of them was a water-soluble vitamin D with K. So it's vitamin K, but it's got the D in it and it's water-soluble. So it's sublingual. You take it in your mouth and it dissolves. And I think the problem is with the fatty liver and the gallbladder being gone, I think I have a hard time assimilating the oils. Like E is a oil vitamin, A is a oil soluble vitamin. They're oils, and so I think I'm not assimilating them very well. And with the leaky gut, I don't assimilate things anyway very well. Anyway, so I think the water soluble vitamin D and K has I assimilate it better, and then I feel better. I am still taking the iron that I've shared in lots of the videos. It's got the green label on it, and it's a natural source. It's got like dandelion root and other herbs, and that seems to be the cheapest and the best, and I always have more energy when I take that. I am still taking the pits, like apricot pits or avocado pits or any kind of pits like that. And as I'm sitting here talking to you, when the light shines through, you can see those little dust particles that I talk about floating in different directions around my head. You can see you can hear there's no fans on, there's nothing blowing, but when there's light around, you can see these little dust particles kind of swimming around. And that's been since we had the parasite. I've never noticed that before until we had the parasite, and it happens. You can just see them kind of swimming around, like floating around. There goes one up above my head. And it's just the way that the light is that you can see them. But especially when I get out of the shower, or the girls would get out of the shower and their hair would be just towel dried and it would be starting to dry. Those things come out of their hair a lot. Especially when they were like jumping around in the kitchen or flipping around or whatever. I could see a lot of them. People can say they're towel fibers. They can say whatever they want, but I think that they'll find that it's probably them coming to the surface with the moisture. So there's that. Okay. So vitamin D is one thing that I've noticed with the K, and zinc. You have to have zinc as well to absorb the K and the D. Okay, so I should just move my chair. This is really painful. I'm twisting around. I'm just going to move. Okay. All right. Okay. The other thing that I've taken, and this is the only time I seem to be able to lose weight, is when I started taking the NAC, which is an amino acid, L-acetylcysteine. And the NAC is the broken down form of N-acetyl, which is L-cysteine, which is an amino acid. So over the years, when I take Moringa Powder, there's a company that is called Deja, and they have little drinks that you can get pre-made, or they have drink packets where you just take one packet with you and you can just pour it in. And I personally can't take that much fiber, and according to their drink packets, and so I just would add a little bit throughout the day from one of their 8-ounce drink packets. My stomach was too much fiber for me. So I assimilate it better if I take it 3 times throughout the day in a little bit of water or juice. So I noticed I had stopped taking the Moringa, and And those are not gnats you're seeing buzzing around. That is not gnats. I don't have any gnats or fruit flies or anything in the house. Those are just dust or whatever it is. So what when I was doing my protein shakes, I was adding this. What I realized was when I was adding this, I had more energy and I was doing better on a regular basis. When I stopped taking this and I was just taking the N-acetylcysteine, I did better and I felt better, and that's when I was doing better. So I was kind of pondering on it the other day. I was like, what am I not taking that I was taking back then when I had more energy? Why am I not feeling better? And this was the thing that I came back to. Now I've gone years. This keeps going on. I'm like, I'll take it, I'll run out of it, and then I don't take it anymore, and then I'll get tired again. And I think what it is in Moringa, the plant, it grows wild. My daughter said in the Philippines, when she served as a missionary there, it would just grow on the side of the road and they would just pluck it off and boil it like spinach, kind of. But it has, when I studied it back then, because the only time I would ever lose weight or I would feel really energetic or whatever was when I was taking the Moringa. And so I thought about it. You know, I get so busy and I take in so many things and I've tried so many things and I buy them on the full of the counter, and then I'll have company come or grandkids and I put it all in a container and I stick it in the closet cupboard or whatever, and then I don't get it back out, and then I stop taking it for a while, and then I was like, oh, I'm dragging, I need it. So I pull it out and put some more on, and I don't take things and I don't get back to taking things. There's lots of teas. I'm not a tea drinker, and so I don't always get the tea, the stuff I should be drinking, the bitters, which is the teas. I'm not taking them on a regular basis, and that's kind of bad because I think some of those bitter teas are really actually good for me. And I do think they help my eyes, and I feel better when I'm taking them. So thank heavens the sun's gone behind the mountain. But so the Moringa powder, this is like the 6th brand I've tried. They're Sun Foods, Superfoods. I haven't actually even opened this one yet because I have a little bit left of the other one. But that one was from online, and then I've bought the Zija brand before. Quite a few different varieties. They have different ways you can buy it. But I have always felt better when I've taken Zija or Moringa, sorry. And I've lost weight and I've slept better. So, excuse me. So I think that that's what I came up with this week, is that's what's been helping me because of the amino acids. It has complete amino acids in it. And I think the food in our area, just there's nothing in, there's no minerals, there's no iron. We have to supplement all of our trees with iron supplements to get them to grow because they get sick and yellow leaves and don't do well. Fruit trees, same thing, everything. The life of my fruit trees is not very great because they just get borer beetles and borer insects and things because they just can't fight them off because they're iron deficient. So I think it's just where I live. That's the problem. I just should move to the coast. So I think between the vitamin D, the B vitamins in the pits, and the Moringa, and I take a protein shake, and those iron, the natural iron, which I've shared with you before, they seem to be helping with the energy more. And so I want to go back to the reclining and the lightheadedness and everything. So I've shared on another video where I had a really bad vertigo, and I realized it was the watermelons I was eating. When I would buy one from Mexico area, I would get the vertigo really, really bad. And when I would buy one that was, and it seemed like the ones from Mexico were like soaked in water and they were super heavy. And the ones I was buying that were local that weren't, didn't make me have the vertigo as bad. So I think what was going on is maybe they were soaking their melons in water to make them have more water weight, and they would make more per pound or something. And then I think maybe they were getting the parasites more in the watermelon or something, because that's what gave me the vertigo. When I stopped eating any of those melons from that country. I just stopped buying that brand watermelon completely. The vertigo went away for the most part, but I do every once in a while have more of a vertigo problem. And I think it's just one of the parasites. Maybe they're getting more in the air fluid. If I don't keep stuff on my neck or keep them out of my head as much. So, I have had vertigo and lightheadedness with the parasite. And I don't know if I have shared this part. I think I may have. When I would laugh hard, I would start to black out. And when I'm by myself, I don't laugh that hard. I'm busy doing stuff and I'm not watching things that are funny. But when I would get laughing with my girls and they'd get me laughing really hard, I would go black. I'd completely black out where I wouldn't see, and I'd kind of like get loopy and almost faint. But I'd catch myself. I'd stop laughing and start breathing. And also, if I strained really bad on the toilet, I would also go lightheaded. And I talked to my doctor. This was about 2 years ago or so. I told him that was happening, and I was concerned about my heart with all the burrowing that I've had. That's been the worst place where they burrow all the time. Like from the very beginning, the big parasite, I could feel a large one burrowing around my heart. And so I worried that maybe I was getting lightheaded from all the burrowing back and forth in my heart was causing weak areas in my heart. Or the other thought I had was, and this is more recently, because I have a niece that was serving as a missionary, and I had a nephew that was serving as a missionary. Now, the nephew that was serving as a missionary was told he had a panic attack because he couldn't breathe. What happened was he was reclining in a chair and he couldn't catch his breath. And so he started to freak out because he wasn't getting enough air, and they told him he had a panic attack. And so a couple months later, it happened again where he was reclining in a chair and he couldn't breathe. And so he got nervous, and then they told him he had a panic attack again. So they sent him home because they thought it was psychological. But when I talked to him, I said, did you happen to, because I kind of had a panic attack when I couldn't breathe too. If you can't get enough oxygen, you're going to have kind of a freak out. But I do think there might be something to the panic attack thing. I personally have not had a panic attack, but my mother, who had a lot of the symptoms and the leukemia with the black teeth and mental issues, and she did have panic attacks towards the end of her life. She never had them when she was younger that I know of. I didn't ever see her have anything like that. But towards the end of her life, I know she did have some panic attacks. And I don't know if it was because she couldn't breathe. 2 times it happened when she was overseas. And I don't know if it was just that whatever the group was doing, she couldn't get enough oxygen, or if it was a real panic attack. So I don't know if it's just because you're not getting enough oxygen that you're having a panic attack, or if it's a real panic attack. Now, I haven't had panic attacks, but I have had where I can't breathe and then I freak out. So I almost wonder if these panic attacks are related to not being able to get enough oxygen. Because when I talked to that nephew that came home, he said it was when he was reclining that he couldn't breathe. Then just recently, I had a niece that was reported to have a panic attack. However, when she laughs really hard, she blacks out and faints. And they've called 911 a few times because she would pass out when she would laugh. So because that happened to her, and I had researched it a little bit before because it was happening to me when I would laugh, I would black out. So I did a little bit more research, and what I found was there are pages where people have that symptom. They laugh and then they black out when they're laughing really hard, and they faint. Some of them have fainted, some of them just get lightheaded, some of them pass out. So in doing this research, several of the people who had that symptom had damaged lungs. And they were saying that their doctor said that because they had damage in their lungs, when they were laughing, they weren't exchanging enough oxygen, and they became lightheaded because they weren't getting enough oxygen. And so I thought, okay, that's interesting that several people on those boards had lung damage, and I have lung damage. And my nieces and nephews, same thing. I know one of them's got a cat, the other one's had dogs. Actually, they both have had dogs, and one has had quite a few cats. And I don't know if the other one has had cats, but anyway, she doesn't live near me, so I don't know if they've had cats. But I think that the lung damage, and also, and doing my research, I found another situation with when you have goiters. You can see it's hard for me to swallow, and I'm enlarged, and I choke on my food, I choke on my spit. I wake up at night, like if a pillow gets kind of there, I can't breathe, and I wake up. I can't swallow my spit if I'm laying sideways and I got a pillow pushing against it. It's quite swollen and enlarged, and makes it kind of hard sometimes. But so the problem is, if you're doing something where you need oxygen, and there's a sign that you can put your arms up against your right like this. I'm just embarrassed because it's fat. But anyway, you put your hands up. This Pemberton sign, something like that. I'll put it on my blog when I post this video. But anyway, when you do that, because the goiter is it's obstructing the blood flow to the head, and if you do that, then your face will turn red, and you can maybe see bulging where the blood vessel is having to move to get enough blood flow to the brain. So I think maybe if that vessel is being occluded or blocked off because of the goiter, calcification due to the parasite, and or not having iodine, I think there's two reasons. Because in the other parasites, threadworm, not in hookworm, but in threadworm and strongyloides, they can have calcification of the thyroid because the parasites are in the back of the throat, and they cause calcification of the thyroid and enlarging of the thyroid. So with this parasite being so similar to strongyloides, I think that the calcification can cause blocking of that blood to the brain. And if you're laughing, you're not, and you've got lung damage, that exchange isn't going well anyway. And then if there's a thinning of that area where the blood flows due to being swollen, and maybe you're laughing and it's occluding or something, maybe that's part of the reason of the lightheadedness when laughter. Now, if you faint and you're laughing and you're already not getting enough oxygen to your brain, and you fall and they lay you, what do the first thing they do when you faint? They lay you on your back, flat on your back. But I can't breathe on my back with the lung damage, because when the parasites would burrow and I'd be sleeping on my back, that's the first place that the damage would occur, is in the lower back, flat. When you're laying flat, gravity would pull them to the back of your lung. And so that's why when you're laying recumbent and you're reclining, I think that's why you can't breathe, because that's the first part that gets damaged. And on my CAT scans and x-rays, it shows that damage down at the bottom. So I think that they lay you on your back, the exchange isn't going to go well when you're on your back either. Or when you faint, or they're bringing you to, they lay you reclined so that you're not going to fall forward. So I think the problem is, leaning them back or on their back, they're not going to come to. So she hasn't been coming to very quickly, and I think it's because of that. Now, she hasn't been diagnosed. I can't prove any of this, but it's just weird that my mother had problems. I have problems. My nephew from one family has problems. My niece from another family has problems. All of these things are happening to all of us, you know. So I'm just sharing it as a symptom to let you know that it's happening to more than one person. So I can't, like I said, I can't prove that they have issues. The nephew that has a problem, his mother got scratched by a cat and had the rashes on the back of her hand, and did the parasite soak, the peroxide soaks, and up came the white dots as well. So I'm thinking that their family has parasites as well. And I think eventually they're just going to have to figure it out with a protein assay test or something, that they can get this parasite diagnosed, because I think it's going to cause more and more people to have panic attacks, fainting spells, cardiac issues, swallowing issues, digestive issues, eye issues. My eyes are so bad. I've never worn glasses in my life except when I was pregnant a little bit for reading. But in the last 6 months, my eyes have gotten so bad. I actually bought a pair of glasses and have them in my purse. I've never pulled them out and actually used them, but I did buy them because I can tell that. But the thing is then I'll take something and it'll make the parasites move, and then my eyes get better, and then I don't take it and go away for the week or whatever, and then they come back and then they get worse. And so I'm hoping I won't need glasses, because I really like not having to worry about that. But I think if I can't get rid of these parasites, I'm going to need something to help me read, because they're getting really bad. So I hope I've remembered everything. Basically, what's making me feel better: protein, vegetable protein. I can't do a lot of meat protein, or dairy, but I do protein shakes, vegetarian protein shakes, and moringa, and I still am doing all those things I shared. So hopefully that's been helpful. I have been struggling being tired, but I think I haven't been taking the things I should have been taking, because I hate taking all the vitamins and all the stuff I'm taking when I'm trying something new. So I haven't been taking them, and I'm so tired. So stop taking that, going back to the protein shakes and things that make me feel better. But I just want to isolate. I don't want to try too many things at the same time. And I think I've shared this before. I try one thing at a time so that I can say, okay, that's not working. Because if I'm taking so many things, I don't know which one is working. So I stopped taking everything. Like, I haven't had protein shakes in a few days, and I haven't taken chia in a month. I haven't taken any of the things that, whatever things I was trying to keep me energized. I just stopped taking them. In fact, today is the first day I've taken B in a while, but because I was taking this, and I don't like to mix things. I don't want to tax my body too much with the liver being the way that it is. So anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Check out my other videos. Check out my YouTube channel, thesecretisgratitude.com, and I'll post pictures and update on what I've taken here. Sometimes I don't update it on my blog. I just make a video, but I think I'll update with the Horsehair pictures and the moringa and stuff. So thanks for watching. Have a blessed day.